Well, let's jump in.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
you want to start with just like telling us about you?
Sure.
You have I think, a really cool career progression over the past 6 or 8 years.
Yeah. So I came here to Kitchener-Waterloo about 8 years ago. I would say reluctantly, because my then fiance was from here and wanted to move back. And at that time, BlackBerry was still, on the up, and I was able to get in there and caught the tail end, I would say, of the heyday for BlackBerry. But funny enough, I knew on my very first day there that that company was just not for me. I do not want to be one in a sea of thousands. You show up every day and you wonder if anyone notices or if you make an impact. So, I put in some time there, but luckily something good that kind of spun out of the demise of the company as we knew it at that time was that the startup scene started to explode here in Kitchener-Waterloo, and I was lucky to get into one of those startup companies in the digital forensics software space. So I remember when I resigned from BlackBerry, people thought I was crazy for going, to this small 5-person company, because the startup thing here wasn't really a thing at that point. But I saw the opportunity and jumped in, and there were 5 of us in a room in an accelerator center here in Waterloo. The company at the time was called Jad Software, and the first thing we did was change the name because the founder's name was Jad, and
Uh,
hi, I'm Jad from Jad Software. It wasn't really going to fly,
yeah.
uh, you know. So anyway, the great thing is that I literally got to run and build and oversee all of marketing from the ground up. They had a first version of a website and a brochure, and that was about it. So over my years there, I got to do everything and build the foundation for corporate marketing. So I feel really grateful. I would say that opportunity is what kind of set me up for where I am today. And I got to develop my range in a bunch of areas, brand marketing, demand marketing, product marketing, um, all the tech. Like HubSpot was just a thing when I
Yeah.
started. And how do we stitch HubSpot and Salesforce together? And so it's so funny. I feel like that was so long ago, but it was the best job for that point, because really, again, it just let me get my hands into everything. And then I got the opportunity to come here to Exonify and work with Carol Lehman, who, a lot of people in Canada know. She's kind of a Canadian tech darling. She's, turned around and sold many companies. Her last one before this was to Google. So she's great. She kicks ass. She's super smart. And I got the chance to come and work with her. So I jumped at that and came in as the director of marketing, comms, and brand. So my role was a lot more limited in scope at that time. But we were rebranding and repositioning in the market and trying to create a new category. So I saw it again as a great opportunity. And then my role has grown from there. I went into programs marketing when we started segmenting and built out that team. And then shortly after was asked to move into the VP role. And I've been in this job for a year now. And I would say that it has been a wild ride. I love my job. I love what I do, but we've really reimagined marketing this year from the ground up. So we have done everything from reorg the team to reimagine all of our operating, or really our operational model. So how we work together, how we plan our programs and campaigns, how we go to market, literally completely different now than it was a year ago.
Hmm.
So it's been a great experience again to really dig in and build something. And we're over the hump. It was a lot of heavy lifting and a lot for the team to go through, but now we're out on the other side, and I feel really good about the position that we're in for 2020.
So what were some of the key parts of the change from where you were before to where you are now? Because I
Yeah.
think I have to believe that a lot of companies need to make a similar transition but haven't yet. And
Yes.
so, yeah, talk me through what the big differences were.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So one of the big problems we had is that the team operating in silos. So we had our programs team, our digital team, our content team, our product marketing team. And when they would go to present their plans, they were all separate. And it's like, no, like we need one go-to-market plan. And everything rolls up underneath that, but that just wasn't happening. Everyone was planning their own thing. So what ended up becoming the way we did things is just a bunch of random tactics that didn't necessarily connect. And, that underlying engine of how we nurture people wasn't in place. So when we brought, we just run tactics to generate leads, bring people in, and then if they didn't convert on the first thing, we just like go out and try to do it again.
Yeah.
And we know that's just not how buyers buy today. I mean, it takes probably, months, if not years, to nurture people today because there's so many options. And so I would say we've really been able to create that engine this year. It's really well thought out go to market with a very, I would say, intricate digital strategy underneath it. So that was the biggest change, is just looking at it as one cohesive plan. How are we going to go generate demand with a specific audience that we know is a good fit for us? And then once we get them in, and know who they are, what do we do with them then to nurture them along their buyer journey to, hopefully becoming a customer?
So did you change how you were measuring success between the transition, or have you always measured success the same? And then the follow-up question is what are those 3 to 5 metrics that you measure your team's success on?
Yeah, so again, a year ago, we measured our success based on MQLs, and that just never felt good to me. I mean, we were playing this volume game. It was just like the more MQLs, the better. And if we had reached our MQL number, we had done our job. But that's kind of where it ended. And I mean, I think, you would agree that the MQLs are a bit of BS. I would say they're a leading indicator, but nothing more. And really what really matters is how is marketing impacting revenue and pipeline. So I was able to at least move the measure of success to sales accepted leads, which was like a big mind shift for the company. I had to really like campaign hard for that. So at least I got them to thinking, okay, how many quality conversations is my team opening up for our ODR and sales team? So we're there, but I'm still not satisfied. I mean, I think we need to look at how does marketing influence our win rate, our conversion rate, and then, what kind of pipeline build are we leading? And then revenue is the ultimate measure of success. So we're not quite there yet, but we are starting to measure and look at all of these things. So I would say we're making progress.
I think a lot of, I'm not sure if companies even struggle with the MQL metric yet, if they've recognized that they're not getting what they should out of it. And let me try and figure out a way to phrase this, because the things that I really want to measure are revenue, and you can then break that up into different sources, whether it's inbound, outbound, or even subsegments inside of inbound. But we know that buyers' journeys are non-linear. Any types of attribution models are going to miss the most important parts of the journey, like word of mouth, and social, and so you end up giving credit to a lot of the wrong things without a very expensive piece of technology on top of it. Even then, it misses word of mouth, which I think is the most powerful.
Yes.
And so inbound revenue, inbound qualified pipeline. So I look at that as demo plus, or however, a critical piece in the sales process where you've already invested sales energy into it. So demo completed is a typical milestone where you would then tag it qualified and then measure that as your contribution a little bit farther beyond than just an SAL. And then the last one is opportunities.
For sure. Yeah, it's how many opportunities, like, and quality ones have you actually created. So
Yep.
we just redid our lead scoring model, and it launches today, which I'm super
Okay.
excited about, because we were letting a lot of the qualification happen with our ODR team. So we had such a wide net, and we were letting all these people through, and most of them are not actively looking to purchase. And so we spent so much time talking to all these people who are not ready for what we do. So now, I mean, in my perfect world, we always call them score accumulators versus hand raisers. I would really only like to be sending hand raisers through, like people
That's what
who
I
have,
do.
yeah, who have put up their hand and said, I've learned enough, seen enough.
I'm ready to talk to your
I'm
rep.
ready to talk to your
Yes.
rep. That is it. That is the only people I want to be sending through. But again, it's such a far departure from what we've been doing. So I've been slowly working the team up to that.
Sure.
But now we've made it a lot harder to MQL.
Mm-hmm.
You have to fit inside our ICP. You have to have the right amount of people you want to train. I mean, we've gotten very like particular with our criteria, as we should be. But at the end of the day, I only want to put sales ready hand raisers through.
Yeah.
So we will get there.
What do you think are some of the big side effects, I would call them, of using the MQL metric and measuring that as the key success of marketing? Because there are certainly issues with that one. I just want to see like what you think are the big ones.
Well, I think quality is an issue. At least it was for us. I mean, you can loosen your criteria so much so that you're doing this huge volume of MQLs, but really it's only making you feel good. It's like,
Precisely.
it's such a vanity thing, right? And it's like, oh, we generated 5,000 MQLs, yay for us. But if your conversion rate sucks,
Yep.
and you're not and your sales team is like, oh my god, marketing is a joke because they're sending through a bunch of people who are not ready to talk to us. I mean, it hurts your credibility.
Mm-hmm.
And it ultimately doesn't help the business. I mean, we want to grow quickly, and that will only be done by talking to people who are actively looking and ready for what we are selling.
Yes. I think the other, I think you alluded to it, the big one that I think people are missing right now is when you measure on volume of MQLs and you push your marketing team to ramp that up regardless of the quality,
Yes.
it by design creates massive sales marketing alignment challenges.
Totally.
And also kind of, I don't know if that this exists in your business, but I have seen it in businesses before where because of that, sales begins to for whatever reason have a superiority in the business because of their feeling of impact.
Mm-hmm.
And in order for marketing to be seen as equals in the company, they need to be contributing at a similar level.
Yes.
And I think by delivering the right opportunities that close to revenue fast and efficiently, I think that's the path to equality and alignment.
I couldn't agree with you more. And what happens is when the quality is not there, they just don't even work the leads, right? Like,
Sure.
you can have
Would you?
SALs, right? Exactly. Like, I can't blame them, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I think I read something once that you put out there is like, it took you time to win back the trust of your sales team. And that's exactly where we are right now, is that, once we show them that we have changed the way we're doing things, and the people that we're opening up are more sales ready, actively looking to buy, the deals will go faster, their win rate will improve. I mean, that's like I think, that's when that kind of parity comes into play. So we're working as fast as we can to get to that place.
Lovely. So, changing topics, one that I have an opinion about.
Yes.
So, ABM, is it the real deal or a fad?
Yeah. So I'm curious to know what your opinion is, but here, so we haven't been ready for ABM yet. because we've had some other things we've had to get in order on the digital front. But we are there,
Mm-hmm.
and we are in the midst of planning a big account-based sales approach for 2019. So I can't tell you if I think it's real or not yet because we haven't done it here. But what I do like about it, and the reason why I've championed the approach now that we're ready, is that we know here at Exonify who our best fit customer is.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we know the type of company they work for, the type of people they want to train, the number we need. Like, we have a clear, I would say, enough ICP. So, I look at it, the first stage of ABM is kind of brand awareness, is that a lot of people don't even know we're out there. So when they go to look for new learning technology, you have to build that awareness that you're a player. So that's kind of where we're at, is we want to get in front of the people that we know we're a good fit for, and just start to plant the seed of Exonify, and that we are the best learning platform for your frontline workforce. And here's why: we can help you solve like these real business issues, and we have great customer stories. So it's just like getting in front of the right people. But that still doesn't mean they're going to be looking or buying, right? So I think it's a long game, and that's kind of where I'm nervous, is that the executive team here expects immediate results, but this is not a short game that
Mm-hmm.
we are about to embark on. I think all I want is that when X company is ready for a new learning platform or to reimagine learning in their company, they will think of Exonify, and
Mm-hmm.
they will consider us along with however many other options,
Sure.
so I mean, that's really how I see it. It's, at the end of the day, it's about intent to buy,
Yeah.
and we just want to be considered. So I hope this will help to accelerate that, so at least people will think of us. But really, I mean, they're on their own journey. They're going to go about their research their own ways, and it
Mm-hmm.
gets back to a referral from someone they trust. So there's so much other stuff that has to happen around ABM. So we're not putting all of our eggs in that basket, but we're layering it on top of what we're doing.
So you had mentioned account-based sales and
Yes.
account-based marketing. Is there is there a difference, and could you approach one without the other?
Well, we're not calling it ABM internally. We're calling it account-based selling, marketing and selling, really.
Okay, got
And so, I think where ABM falls flat a lot of the time is it's just seen as a marketing initiative,
it.
right?
Okay.
And the sales team is not bought in, or they're not invested. They're skeptical, right?
Mhm.
But we have really good buy-in from our senior sales leaders. We're sitting with them to pick the accounts. We are working with them really closely, which we haven't really in the past.
Mhm.
So I think if it's like an approach that everyone is bought into, it's got a better chance for sure. But let's talk in 6 months, a year,
Yeah,
2 years, and see what kind of lift it brings us. I really don't know what to expect.
I have always thought that for forever, every rep is doing account-based selling.
Mm-hmm.
We were selling to, a while back, we were selling into acute care hospitals in the United States. Every rep, the 50 reps around the country, knew the 3 hospitals in their territory that would make or break their year, that would make their year if they closed them. And obviously, they were spending more time on those than the other ones, right? It seemed so. Account-based selling, I think, is just natural for people to do. Like your sales team must know the top 50 names that they would want to win the most, right? Or no?
Yes. Well, yes, but the interesting thing is they had their own lists. Marketing had no insight into those lists. They were not shared.
Sure.
So
Got it.
yeah, there wasn't a concerted effort to
Mhm.
point like the whole engine at these accounts. It was very, I don't know, sporadic. Just the rep would reach out as needed, but it wasn't a coordinated effort. So I have to believe that when it's a coordinated effort, we may have some more success. And then there's also reps who pick their best accounts in their patch with no real rhyme or reason.
Mm-hmm.
Like we started questioning, like, why did you pick that account?
Yeah.
Like doesn't fall into our best fit. So like why. So it's just working on like, for ABM, we created this filter that we're running all of these companies through to see what it spits out, right? We've got specific criteria we're looking for, but that just wasn't happening before. It was like, well, this is a big company, so like it wasn't well thought out.
I think it really comes down to the execution on this. I completely believe in the idea of doing it and it works, but how it's executed today, I don't fully believe in. And it's mainly held back by the technology providers, I believe.
Okay.
So,
that's interesting because we're now researching all the tech and we're deciding, what we want to buy to help in our efforts. And actually, to start, we're just going to use an agency to do it. Sure. Because, you don't want to get that investment wrong.
Yeah. Which then leads us wonderfully to the next question, which is how you think about agency versus in-house. And we could have a cool discussion on this one, I think.
Yeah. So part of the reorg of our team here a year ago was building our own internal agency. So we have an integrated marketing services team that acts, like I said, as our in-house agency, really. And that has a director who leads the team who used to work in an agency, which is key, someone who comes from that world.
Yeah.
And then we have, digital marketing, email marketing, PR, brand, graphic design. And the reason why I really pushed for that is because you can be a lot more agile when they're in-house. They know your brand. I find, ramping agencies and getting them to understand your business just takes so much time. And, the content is all, a lot of the time a miss because they just don't get the nuances. So we also have, the content team is part of our services team. So I would say it makes us a lot more nimble, makes us a lot more effective, a lot less, back and forth with agencies. So it saves us time. We get to market faster. So it is working well for us, but then there are some kind of key roles that we do still rely on agencies for, that for whatever reason, either we can't find the talent locally to bring people into that job, or it's just not a really compelling job for a full-time person. Like, for example, our paid advertising, we outsource to an agency who really specializes in that. A lot of our demand and digital, like the high level strategy, we work with an agency on that. So there are certain areas where we just don't have that expertise here, but we know specifically where those areas are. But for the most part, we have it here in the team.
I have been continuously thinking that the path is to take on as much as possible as you can in-house.
Yeah, there are definite pros to that.
You can move, all the things that you said, you can move faster, but I also believe that because there's so much content, like you need to be able to rapidly iterate, and you have to have a deep understanding of both your company, your product, and most importantly, your customers.
Yes.
And so you can't really get that in an agency without a lot of legwork up front.
Yes.
And so therefore the content misses. And then the second piece is like, if you ever want to get to a point where you're putting out 5 videos a day, which I don't think is something that's like irrational in the next 3 years, then it's going to be either prohibitively expensive or impossible from a timeline perspective to get that done in an agency.
Yes.
And so you need to be able to, one, build the function in-house,
yes,
and then drive down the cost of creating content.
For sure. Yes. And that would be the next hire onto the team is, I know a lot of companies have their own video team, and we're doing a lot of video, and you're right, it's super expensive. So I think, yes, I agree with you on that one, that's another
Yeah.
kind of core capability that I think a lot of companies will bring in.
And so but from the ABM side, you're going to an agency more because you're looking for the expertise or proof of concept, like kind of like
Yeah,
that.
it's a pilot.
Yeah,
Yes.
sure. And then
Yes,
if you
for
see
sure.
if you see what you're looking for, and you get, it's almost like consultants with you as well
Exactly.
that have experience. Got
Exactly.
it.
And that's the thing is since this is new territory for us, you know, if we don't have the luxury of time. Like we can't take the time to, you know, build out these full orchestrated plans and stitch a tech stack together ourselves. Like we need to get to market fast with a pilot to, like you said, like prove that it works or that we're making traction. So it really is that proof of concept that I'm looking for. And for the point, you know, we're at right now, it's the best route for us. But long term, we will probably bring that in-house as well.
Sure. Yeah, speed is, I think, something, it's so important. And
Yes.
I just think people don't, maybe, I think people, if you hear that, you would understand it, but I don't think a lot of people put it into practice.
Yeah, no, it's everything. And I mean, I think a lot of companies, I know us for sure, our market is changing and moving so quickly. Like we need to capitalize on opportunities and messages and positioning like so fast that if we just be dead if we had to rely on outsourced help all the time. Like the sense of urgency is always there, and my
Yeah.
team is great. Like, you know, I'm very lucky to have people who come from that background. I think they're used to the fast pace, but it's like we're moving at 100 miles a minute. Like it's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I heard you mention ODR. Never heard that term before.
It's a special Canadian term.
Oh, really?
No, it's opportunity development.
Got
it's
it.
interchangeable.
It's interchangeable because I had on the list SDR, BDR, MDR, and now I can add ODR, which is a new one for me.
Yeah.
Where should they report to and why?
I've been here for 5 years. When I joined the company, they sat in marketing. And then about halfway through, they moved over to the sales team. And, you know, this is again just my opinion, but I do see the value of having them in marketing from an alignment perspective and a speed perspective. And really, when you look at your marketing, it's like the conversations that you're trying to start and have with people need to flow freely between inbound and outbound. And when you add in a break and the ODR comes in and they're sitting on the sales team, I think it's just really hard to keep that experience tight. And, you know, I really think that they are part of demand generation and educating the market. And that is really marketing, I would say. So we're talking about where they're best placed right now. But I have seen both situations in this company. And I would say it just, for marketing, there's a big difference when they sit in our team and then when they sit in sales. It's just, it feels very, it's like there's just like a break in the process because we're not necessarily in lockstep on what we're putting out into the world and the conversations and how you'll pick up with these people. And it just seems, it just works. It feels easier when they're on our team.
And so I think companies are, I'm not sure what the divide is. It's probably 60-40 or 40-60, something like that, and where they sit. I see a lot of it on the sales side, especially in tech and startups. SDRs reporting into sales. And I think it depends on what the objective of the position is.
Yeah,
I think some companies use that position as a pipeline of sales talent and risk aversion to sales turnover. More so than an actually generating business. I think that it's a training program that gets people ready for sales, because if you audit the performance of a lot of those groups, their impact on revenue is a net negative. Like, they cost far more than they're generating.
Yes.
And so in order to justify having that team of whether it's 4 or 40 or 400, depending on the size of the company,
Yes.
that the only way to justify it is that, okay, well, next time when Johnny leaves because he gets a better sales job, we can put Susie in there and she's going to ramp in 3 months instead of 9, and that's how we justify it financially. I think if you're using it to actually generate, it depends on whether or not they're using, I think, to educate the market or to create sales meetings too, is the second piece.
Yes.
Right.
So when they sat in marketing here, they were more part of demand gen, educating the market.
Content delivery.
Yes. And when they moved into sales, it's more like just setting the meeting.
Totally.
So I do think you're right in that. What is the objective of this role? And that may, factor into where they sit and why they exist. And I think, the ODR model, in my opinion, needs to be rethought from the point of view of the customer experience.
Mm-hmm.
So that, to me, is something I think about all the time. Like, we want to have ODRs because it's just the way SaaS companies operate. And that's just what you do.
It's just what you do.
I feel like, think about it from the customer's perspective is, when I go to buy software, you end up on the phone with a very junior person, with asking you all these questions to qualify you. They're sometimes not super knowledgeable. Like, you can't really get into the meat of anything. And then you have to wait to be connected. Like, it's just, from the customer experience point of view, I think we need to rethink things. It's like, imagine you're the buyer. You want to talk to one person from point A to point B, and that is a better experience. So, I think we are rethinking that right now. I see the value in the function, but maybe they need to take the deals further. Something's got to change, I think.
I agree with you, and I actually don't know when this function was created, but I know what the rationale for creating the function was. It was, let your high expensive paid salespeople just do closing, was the reason. It had absolutely no input of what the customer needs.
Exactly.
It was all built around making it as easy as possible for a company to sell. Now, my guess is that it was created more than 2 decades ago, when the best way to sell was either through a trade show or through cold calling.
Yes.
This was like early day, like email was relatively new when we're talking about. And so, I'm guessing it worked better then.
Yes. I think, yes. And I've even seen that over the last 5 years, is what the ODRs, like, it was all about the trade show booth and the cold calling. And now that's not how you don't just meet someone at a trade show and close them the next day. Or like call someone who has no clue who you are or what you do and, talk them into buying your product.
I know. Especially as you start getting more expensive in your product.
Exactly.
And so we did one test, and I feel good about this one, and I think companies should really think about this, is that at the beginning, we were running, when we got bottom of the funnel conversions, they were going directly to our account execs. And we had 6 months of data on what happened in those opportunities, what percentage got to demo, what percentage went to close, how much revenue we got. And as we started pumping more money into creating high quality opportunities for our sales team, we also recognized that the sales team wasn't following up fast enough.
Yes.
And so therefore, we had to, instead of pushing our reps to follow up faster, we gave them a way out, which was, okay, we'll give it to the BDR, who will call like talk to them for 5 minutes, pass you the information, set you the meeting, then you can go and take the meeting. And when we looked back, we did that for about 3 months, and what we saw was that the conversion, the BDR always got the connect call within 5 minutes and talked. But the attrition between that call and the demo got significantly higher.
Agreed. We're seeing the same thing.
And then that pushes all the way down, and you see a drastic decrease in your revenue. So what you've done, it's so counterintuitive because you think, okay, we'll be able to connect with the customer faster and get them the meeting set up, and it's perfect. It's easier for us too. But the difference is, my theory on why it breaks down is that you have the person that's making the connect call doesn't have the opportunity to build rapport with the buyer and find a common connections, and then be able to schedule that meeting and and at that point you might as well do a short discovery,
Exactly.
right? And so all four of those things get missed.
Yes.
And so I've continuously been thinking that the best path is a full funnel account executive.
I just suggested that yesterday. So yes.
I really do think it's the best approach.
Well, yeah. And like, again, if you think about it, what matters most? It's the experience of the person on the other end.
Mm-hmm.
How do you build that rapport? How do you keep the momentum going? Mm-hmm. Right?
But companies can't do that. They can't go to a full funnel account executive model because they aren't generating, from a marketing side, enough opportunities to support it. So if they made that transition, they would see a drastic decrease in at least activity metrics. I don't even know if it would affect revenue metrics, but at least activity metrics. So then you have, let's just pretend you have 10 reps and you have 10 SDRs, and then you say, okay, we're going to go to a full funnel AE model. Instead of having 10 SDRs, we're going to have 2, and they're going to report into marketing. Then on day one, when you make that change, the 10 account executives aren't going to have their calendars filled with demos that aren't going to close to revenue. And so what are they going to do now? They could be doing some like super high quality work on LinkedIn.
Yes.
With their top 10 accounts, or the ideas of what you could do are endless if you made the transition. But I think what's holding companies back from even considering it is, one, once you start to build that, the sales infrastructure, it gets harder and harder to change, right? Because you have to either move a lot of people or let go, and you start to get like stuck with, okay, I'm used to having 500 demos. I don't care if it's a 1% win rate. Like we need those 500 demos every month.
Yeah.
And so.
Yes, I think you're right. It's the drop in activity, whether it's converting or not, that freaks people out.
Totally.
Like, well, what are they going to do then? And it's like, even the change we've made to our lead scoring model to only put through sales ready people. It's like, well, there's not going to be that many of them. So what's the team going to do?
Yeah.
Like, they should be like, so it's like, you want better quality, right? But you're not willing to change things to actually get there. It's scary.
It's been my belief, and have yet to fully prove it at a company, but it's my belief that if you had a company like that, let's say the 10 reps and the 10 SDRs, and you figured out how to do marketing well, and you got rid of 8 SDRs, and you moved 2 of them into marketing, then within the next 6 to 12 months, you would generate more revenue and have half as many account executives, and you'd have 80% less SDRs. And your revenue model would be ridiculously more efficient, but making that change is the hardest part. But
agreed. But I love the vision. I'm with you.
That's the vision. When we make it work, then I'll start talking even louder than I am right now.
Totally. You need proof.
I need some proof, and I've had early signs of success at probably like 5 companies now. But the challenge that continuously is there is that when they hit a point, they can't change.
Agreed. It's scary.
It's scary.
Yeah.
And so we'll find out.
Yeah.
Lightning round.
Okay.
So we're just going to do, maybe I'll come up with more on the fly, but right now we have 3 questions and just like short, punchy answers. Or if you want to like dive in, you do whatever you want.
Okay.
Okay.
That feels right.
Okay. Biggest challenge for marketing leaders in 2020?
I would say standing out. There's software for everything. Markets are incredibly cluttered. You know, talking about your product and your features and functionality just don't work anymore because everyone just copies them. So I think, you know, how do you stand out from those thousands of vendors who sound just like you?
I love that. What is the number one line item to reduce in your marketing budget in 2020?
You know what? I can't say at this point because I know that there are so many touch points along a journey and they all play a piece that, like you said, sometimes you can attribute, sometimes you can't. And whether it's, you know, people saw you at an event, they were retargeted by an ad, so they know your name, they read a piece of content, you know, they attended I mean, there's 10 to 20 touch points on a journey, and they're all important. So you can't look at it as one thing to cut out. It's like, how do they all work together?
What is the best marketing execution in 2020?
I think it's an approach that's based in empathy. I'm hot on this topic. And I think so many companies just push their product so hard. They call people who have shown no interest, who don't even know who they are. So rather than trying to sell people, let's try to help people. So in our case, it's like, how can we help people understand how better learning or doing it a better way can help them solve the problems that they're up against? And it's like, you know, one of my favorite quotes from Brian Carroll is, marketing and selling should feel like helping because it is. And when you can walk in your customers' shoes and look at them as like climbing a mountain where you're the Sherpa and you're helping them along, I think that is the best thing you can do.
Awesome. Empathy for 2020.
Empathy. Yes, for the win.
Nice.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you. How fun.
That was fun. Yeah. I love chatting about marketing.
You hit the lightning round. Awesome. It was the first time we've done it, and you set the bar pretty high.
Oh, thank you. Well, I thought about it in advance. So if I had it, I would have been